Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to NS9LIVE. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, we have Jim Rosati. Tyler, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Jim, you go
doing
first.
All right. Doing all right.
Yeah, I'm alive.
It's the off season.
It's a slow time, man.
Very slow.
But it's about to pick up, and that's the good news. Like, this is
Maybe.
about the last of the, we have nothing to talk about until, like, I don't know, December 18th.
I'm just over here trying to center myself.
I mean, maybe. I mean, knowing the Pirates, they're not going to do anything for a while here. So, yeah,
Right.
I mean, who knows? They could be like the Cleveland Guardians signing Austin Hedges to another one-year deal. That dude,
That guy,
I don't know how he keeps getting away with it.
we gave him so much trash, right? He's my absolute hero. I strive to be Austin Hedges one day.
He's like the Charlie Whitehurst of MLB players. Just
I'm trying to think
or
here.
no, Chase Daniel. Just
There
like
you
made
go.
$50 million doing nothing.
Right. Right. That's a good call. Just a complete
I mean,
vibes guy.
He made $27,000 every time he stepped to the plate last season.
Now, granted,
And
he
he
does
failed.
get beat up a good bit.
Not really, because he doesn't play.
But when he does, like catcher positions, it's tough.
I get it, but he only played
Okay.
65 games last year.
Yeah.
And then out of those 65, he only started, I don't even know.
Now
Less than
imagine
that.
having
Way
a
less
front
than that.
office just shoving him down your throat for half a year.
Yeah. Hey, you know what, though?
And,
Good
like,
for him.
Granted, the situation he's in, I mean, $4 million isn't a whole lot of money. The situation he's in, you have a starting catcher. I mean, like, nothing, guys, $4 million.
Like,
I'm going to clip that.
how
$4
much
million.
money you got
Isn't,
there?
$4 million isn't all that much money, says DiNardo.
Or
Yeah.
let's understand where we're coming here. We're talking about Major League Baseball. You want to talk?
DiNardo's in line for
Now,
one of those
now you
big
want to say
tax
$4 million is not a lot of money, but we're going to talk about free agency and the Pittsburgh Pirates and say, well, it's $20 million. Like, you guys can afford it. $4 million in the terms of Major League Baseball isn't a ton of money. So as a backup catcher, that's fine. But like as the starting catcher, as he was at the Pirates, like this is just, it was absurd.
Oh, yeah,
$4 million? That's Soto money.
He gets paid
Yeah.
more than Paul Skeens.
He does. Quite a bit more. Like 5 times more.
If you want to know what's going on with baseball, that's wrong.
But anyways, we'll get past that. But before we do go any further, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, on BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA and college football, NHL to UFC and MMA. Head to BetOnline today to get on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. So, yeah, guys, we have a few things to talk about. There's still like not a whole lot, but there was some minor transactions. We'll kind of fiddle with those a little bit here. There was a cabbage that's brought into Pittsburgh. That's not enough for Manny's brother sandwich. And then I guess one thing, it's like, again, it's the MLB, the GM meetings right now that's taking place. Free agency is now open, right? And like a lot of the deals tend to, like, the legs kind of start today, like at the GM meetings, right? So things tend to go in motion today, as you saw. Some signings have happened. You talk about our catcher, right? Also, Kyle Hendricks, the guy that Tyler over here can go deep on. Kyle Hendricks signs the Angels. So things start to happen, and MLB Trade Rumors released their top 50 free agents with their predictions and such. I figured, like, let's go ahead and talk about that. Maybe, I mean, it gives us something to kind of relate to, right? You have some figures there. It's what they're predicting, and we can kind of bounce off and maybe talk about free agency and such. But I guess before we do get into that, maybe let's talk a little bit about the Pirates news, some of the transactions they've had. And I guess the biggest one, I guess, they signed Trey Cabbage. Or they picked them up, I should say. Yeah, Tristan Gray,
Tristan Gray. Yeah.
big moves.
Yeah, Tristan Gray is like if you ordered Alika Williams off Temu. I think you would get Tristan Gray.
That's fair. Yeah. And you're only looking for the Alika Williams because it's on Temu. It's so cheap as it is, you know. You're not looking for quality. So you're going after poor, cheaply made things, and you don't even get that. You get Tristan Gray.
Yeah, it's like when you spin the wheel and it's like you can pick any item you want for 1 penny. And you're like, I'll take Alika Williams. You don't get Alika Williams. You get Tristan Gray.
But it was still a penny, so you're not really that. You don't really care that much about it.
No, I do not care about it at all.
Right.
This dude, if he lasts more than a month on the 40 man, we're doing something wrong.
So, if we don't know it yet, I'm a big Temu guy. Love Temu. I order stuff from there all the time. Don't care. It was yesterday. No, 2 days ago. I'm sorry. I've been wearing my same Temu gray dress pants every day. It cost me $11. Went to the bathroom. I ripped a crotch in them. They lasted about 1 month. That's how useful Tristan Gray is.
If that doesn't epitomize Tristan Gray right there.
That's it. That's it. We're good. Crotch wide open. I had green underwear on that day, and not a good look.
Cabbage, you had cabbage underwear. Your
Yep.
Tristan Gray pants exposed your cabbage colored underwear.
Oh yeah, green underwear that day. Not a good look for the gray dress pants. It just split right in the crotch. And they lasted 2 months. That is Tristan Gray.
Actually, yeah.
It's actually a really good analogy. We didn't even plan this.
No. Actually, if Tristan Gray lasts 2 months, good for him. For $11, hats off, bud.
And that's really what it comes down to. I mean, this is a nothing move. I'll say this. 2 sides to this. These moves happen by anyone and everyone. You know, like, don't put too much stock into this. I know there's a lot of people like, what are we doing? Oh, that's the status quo. We're doing the same thing. We're dumpster diving Tristan Gray and Trey Cabbage. And honestly, like, again, I think we'll all be shocked if they're on this team when the calendar turns to 2025, right? When Jim says, all right, guys, see you next year, I will bet you these 2 aren't even on the roster at that point in time. So, like, again, that's why it's really a nothing thing. You grab people off seasons early. If they're really trying to make some moves, you're going to have to DFA some people. They're probably next to be DFA'd. So it just kind of is what it is.
Now, I do think Cabbage has potential to hang around just because of the power that's there, and he hits the ball hard when he makes contact, which isn't often. But so I expect Cabbage. I think Trey Cabbage will be in spring training. I'm going to say it right now. Trey Cabbage will be in spring training. Tristan Gray, I don't think he will be. But Cabbage, yeah, I mean, you're looking at him. He's this year's Jake Lamb, you know, that kind of guy, probably.
I was going to say Billy McKinney.
Billy McKinney, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I'll say in this sense, do you think he is in spring training on the 40 man or not, though? Because I think that's the biggest difference. I think they'll try to slip him through. And when you're getting closer to Rule 5 draft, like, that might be able to happen. I don't think he's going to last on the 40 man, though.
I don't know. If I'm looking at this 40 man, like, I'm probably keeping Cabbage over a few of these other guys. Like there's going to be 40-man spots cleared here very soon. And like give me
No.
Cabbage over Bay, Joe. I mean,
No.
No.
well, like Connor,
No,
like
I'll
I'm talking about
stop
like
you
from
right there, man.
well, hold on. From like a 40-man roster spot. Like Connor Joe's not going to be on the 40-man. He's just not
Right.
going to. They're gonna non-tender him. So like Connor Joe will be off of this team. G1 Bay, I don't need to see him on this team anymore. And like again, Cabbage, I think he's bad. But like if he's your 7th outfielder or whatever.
Pass.
That's fine too. I could
Like,
I am passing on him. Like, don't get me
No.
wrong. He's bad. But I think he's going to hang around.
But I do think there's a line that it's a questionable line between him and G1 Bay. And a lot of it, I don't like G1 Bay, obviously. But Bay does play the infield. Bay has assets that Trey Cabbage just obviously does not have. Like he can't hit a baseball. And that's kind of a big part of being a Major League Baseball player is hitting a baseball. And granted, you did talk about the power, but it also came with the caveat of when he makes contact. And if you're not making contact in the minor leagues, like, sorry, buddy, you kind of suck at this sport. And I can't believe I just said like 4 sentences on Trey Cabbage. That's where we're at.
But I agree with Tyler, I think, on this too. And I feel like the organization does. I'm keeping Bay over Cabbage. Like I asked this. What can Cabbage do in the majors? Like at least Bay has speed. Now, does he
What
use
can
it
Bay
properly?
do in the
Not
majors?
not too well, right? Like, and I get that. But again, like I'm like, what can Cabbage do? Like, I
We're
don't see
splitting
any
hairs
skill
here.
set.
They're like, I mean,
Not
they're
one.
both terrible. Like,
Yeah.
let's be real.
If
both
either
suck.
of these guys
we've
are in
already
the
spent
25
too
man,
much. Yeah,
we're in
we've already
trouble.
spent too much time talking about Trey Cabbage.
So I guess here's what I want to nail down. I know there's a lot of people that talk about, the exit velocity and this and that and whatnot. And of course, a lot of people that hate, I don't want to hear exit velocity. I hate it. To understand things is what makes sense, right? And this is the good point, right? When you talk about O'Neal Cruz with the exit velocity, right? He does something very, very well, but he also makes contact with the ball. Like, things matter. You can correlate, you can build a story, right? Well, Trey Cabbage has excellent exit velocity as well, but he doesn't make any contact. He can't hit a baseball, and that's why, like, Trey Cabbage, I have no excitement for him. He's a skillful person. He's an athlete. He's not a baseball player. You're striking out as like a 26-year-old over 30% of the time in AAA as you finally get there. As a 25-year-old, like in AA, you're striking over 30% of the time. Like, you're just not a baseball player. You can't hit a baseball. So the 1 out of 10 times you make contact with the ball, it's really hard. Cool. But the other 9 times you don't make any contact. And that's in the minor leagues.
So, we're on the same page, I think.
I'm not saying any more words about Trey Cabbage.
Like, yeah, I don't.
Okay.
He's a human. They signed him. He won't
Yeah.
be on the major league team. Hopefully.
They claimed him.
Well, he is on the
Right.
team now, and hopefully we don't have to deal with much more Trey Cabbage talk in our lives.
Okay. So now that we cleared out the actual Pirates talk, we lasted 17 minutes, 14 minutes on Pirates talk. Let's go into just some riffing here. Because again, as we mentioned, MLB Trade Rumors released the top 50. It is the offseason. Let's say we think about some free agents and such. So I guess the first thing that stands out, we've kind of talked about free agency and thoughts and ideas and who. And one name that has certainly popped up is Tyler O'Neill. Now he does
Great name.
What's that?
Great name.
Is it Ty?
Yeah. Tyler, great name.
The O'Neill part, right?
Good parents
like
there.
Cruz. But at any rate, he does rank on here as one of the top 50. And I'll tell you what, two out of the 4 people making their predictions predict that Tyler O'Neill will go to the Pirates. So they have him as a 19th rated prospect. I'm sorry, rated free agent. signing for a 3-year, $42 million deal. What do you guys think about that in Tyler O'Neill? And I'll start with Tyler.
Oh, we're going tie.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, I would very much welcome the signing. I can't see it. I just can't see this team spending that type of capital on Tyler O'Neill. Plain and simple. Like, I don't see that happening. I think we fall more into the maybe lesser, not top 50 type of guys. I think it would be a great signing for him, but also it's just Jim talked about the $95 million payroll that I think he was pretty accurate on. I think that's probably what we're looking at. Maybe if we get lucky, they push 100. But even then, like, that's a good chunk of it right there. And I just don't see this team going to that length. I can't get there with them. Until they do it, I don't buy it. And I think it would be a welcome addition to this team. I just can't picture this team doing it.
I mean, yeah, he's a great fit. Great fit. Especially if the move is to transition Brian Reynolds to first base. And with O'Neill, there's a couple things to stand out. One, he's the power bat that you've been looking for in this lineup for a long time, especially from the right side of the plate. Like, they could use a power bat on the, from the right side of the plate. I don't want to hear like, oh, PNC Park, righties don't perform there, blah, blah, blah. Good righties do. Good righties do perform there. And it's just hit the ball harder if that's what you want, right? So and Tyler O'Neill's one of those guys who can do that. Like, he's got major power. The one concern with Tyler O'Neill is he has not shown he can be durable at all in his entire career. He's played 138 games once. That was in 2021. That was his career high. Last year, he played 113 games. Those are the only 2 seasons that he has eclipsed 100 games played. 100 games or more in 2 of his 7 seasons that he's played. So it's like, then you kind of weigh that. Now, this MLB Trade Rumors says, 3 years, $42 million. That comes out to what, $14 million a year? If he's giving you 113 games and he's hitting you 30 homers and he's putting up a 130 weighted runs created plus, you do that all day. So like, if you can count on last year Tyler O'Neill, totally worth it. That deal, totally worth it. If you start getting to 2023, 2022 Tyler O'Neill, then you start thinking maybe that money can be better spent elsewhere with someone who's going to play a few more games. But it's a risky signing. With all that being said, I'm still making this signing. Like, I'm going after Tyler O'Neill. It's just, I want people to understand this is a signing that the Pirates typically wouldn't do. This is a risky signing because he hasn't shown that he can do this consistently. That he can be on the field and produce consistently. So I think that's the one hesitation I could see the Pirates having. I think they do have the money to do it. Like $14 million to put that bat in your lineup. I think that money is there for them to accomplish that. I'm just concerned with the durability.
I'm not one to be I'm all in on Tyler O'Neill. Like, that's got to be the play. Because there are certainly, and you all kind of cover this, like there does come with a lot of risk. And here's the thing, when you're getting to this like crop of free agency, they all kind of do. They all have their warts. That's why they're not getting 20 plus million. Like, that's why you're not going after Teoscar Hernandez at 20 million plus, right? When you're in that 10, 15 to $18 million range, it's probably because there is some risk in there. And what's this person's risk? Well, like you mentioned, that's for sure the health. He's had 2 basically really good years, and those were 2 years that he was healthy. But outside of that, they've been pretty poor. The other thing that kind of worries me, he had a fantastic year last year. Like, I'm not taking that away, but his splits were crazy. He had like a 91 rated runs created plus against righties and like a 200 something against lefties. His expected numbers were higher than was actual, right? His WOBA was like a 360. I think his expected WOBA was 360. Here, let me get it. His expected was 342. His WOBA was 360. So he kind of like performed higher than he probably should have. He wasn't that good against righties. I think he has a 104 weighted runs created plus for his career against righties. So like he did a lot of damage against lefties to really bring those numbers up. And I guess that's why I would welcome Tyler O'Neill. Absolutely welcome it. If they go and make that signing, cool. Not going to be disappointed. But there is a little buyers beware on Tyler O'Neill for me, you know? So that's why, like, I'm not gung-ho on him. I will take him. The money is right, because again, like $14 million shouldn't break a person's bank. But we are talking about the Pirates. We are talking about how they seem to fully regret. It's like Gregory Polanco's contract still gives them chills, right? And Tyler O'Neill kind of presents that. Like, you're in that price range, and if he doesn't perform and he's out and he's injured, oh my God, what are we going to do? So again, I guess I would welcome Tyler O'Neill, but I do see a lot of risk in Tyler O'Neill also.
Yeah. I want to just echo because a couple comments in here about the righty lefty split thing at PNC. So 31 homers by Tyler O'Neill last year. If he would have played every single game at PNC Park, he would have hit 29. So PNC would not have zapped him all too much last season. So that's encouraging to see. I mean, I'm not really seeing too many things I dislike. I mean, obviously the K rate, he strikes out a lot. That's one thing, but that's just today's baseball. If you want someone who's going to hit you 30 homers, you're going to have to just deal with the strikeouts, like plain and simple. There's not too many people who can put up those types of numbers and not strike out. And the ones who do, you're not signing for 14 million, right? You're signing for way, way, way more than that. So I think Tyler O'Neill is probably like the top bat the Pirates could get in this free agency class. And if they land him, it's big. I think it's big. Now I think they need more. Like I don't think Tyler O'Neill is all they can do. They need to add another bat. But yeah, I'm all aboard the Tyler O'Neill train, even with the hesitation in certain areas.
I'm with you, but I also do think there are other options out there that probably fit the Pirates' financial constraints better than Tyler O'Neill does.
Like who?
Joc Pederson, I think is a.
So let's talk about Joc Pederson, because
I think
he's
probably the next guy we're going to talk about.
Yeah, they named him in this article as a potential player. So for Joc Pederson, they estimate him at 2 years, $24 million. So slightly cheaper, one less year. Big difference between the two. Joc Pederson's left-handed, and Joc Pederson cannot play defense. So if you're signing Joc Pederson, he is a DH and a DH only, and you kind of have one of those that you're thinking about bringing back.
I think you can put him in right field and he'll be okay. And I think there's a spot to put him at first base. And a lot of this is dependent on Brian Reynolds' situation. That's something they have to figure out pretty much as soon as possible. And I think they're going to tell us pretty early without telling us what they're going to do with him. But if they sign some guys that could play first base, like a Joc Pederson, which, again, I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't think it will, but I think if signing him, that maybe signs to me that Brian Reynolds is going to stay in left field.
Yeah, I guess okay, so I'll start with just him himself. Like that money, I feel like it's cheaper than Tyler O'Neill. I think the bat's safer. You know what I mean? Like offensively, the production's safer. So that's kind of appeals to me for Pederson. The defense, absolutely something to talk about. But I guess I look at it this way. If people were wanting to get a Brent Rooker on this team, you know how terrible his defense was. You know, like Joc Pederson presents Brent Rooker light for
Left-handed
$12 million.
Timu Brent Rooker.
There it is.
Split the pants.
I mean, but for real,
his
I mean,
pants
Joc
last for
Pederson-
5 months.
Joc Pederson has put up. I mean, last year was a monster season for Joc
Yes.
Pederson.
And his splits, I mean, righties and lefties, he crushed last year too. Like it wasn't. I mean, he crushed righties and he crushed lefties. Wasn't where he did his damage against one or the other. He was just absolutely a monster. And like for his career, he's been good offensively. I feel, I guess, with the defense, like I know he was DH last year. Part of that too is, I mean, they have some solid outfielders there. Let's not lie, in Arizona. So they're afforded the opportunity. But I guess if you put him there, I don't think he's going to be like the liability that like Rooker was. So I guess where the light part is on the offensive side from Brent Rooker, I think he'll be better than Brent Rooker defensively. It's not that good. I get that. He had like -5 defensive runs saved in 2023, and I think -4 outs above average in 2023. So again, like it wasn't good, but I don't think it's Rooker level. And granted, again, if you have Reynolds in one corner and Pederson, like that's not good, and you have a brand new O'Neill Cruz in center, like defense is going to be bad. I get that. That's the wart that comes with Joc Pederson. So I guess they like pick your poison, but I will say this: I feel much safer offensively with Pederson than I do with O'Neill.
So last week when we were on with Alex and Donardo decided to take a vacation, I remember distinctively saying, just give me 9 guys who can hit a baseball. That's where I'm at right now. Give me dudes that can hit a baseball because this team does not employ them right now. Joc Pederson can hit a baseball. I'll take him. Don't care. We'll figure it out.
I mean, someone in the comments here brought up like a Joc Pederson, Billy Cook platoon in right field. And like, I could live with that. I think I could live with that. Like if you let Joc play against righties, but I think you still, I don't know what you can expect. I don't know what you can expect out of Joc Pederson if you're like making him a full-time outfielder. Cause like he hasn't done that in years. And when he did do that, he was awful. So yeah, the bat is really nice. But if he's going to be that bad in the field, it has to stay at the levels that it was at last year. Like 2023 Joc Pederson was also pretty good. And I take that bat also. But if 2023 Joc Pederson shows up with terrible defense, that's not a good player. If 2024 Joc Pederson shows up with terrible defense, that works. So I think it's a little bit more volatility there. I'm not sold on this one. I don't think. I think if Andrew McCutchen was out of the equation all day I'm doing this. And I guess you could say like from a pure baseball standpoint, probably rather have Joc Pederson than Andrew McCutchen right now. Like if you had to pick one.
Yeah.
But like you gotta, I'm still not moving on from Kutch. Like that, plain and simple. Like if Kutch wants to be here, he's here.
Also, Kutch is a lot cheaper.
And it's a lot cheaper. Yeah. Oh, there's a reason. For that,
yeah.
though.
Let me go back and correct myself here. I do apologize. I mean, what I did say was correct. However, it was just 42 plate appearances against lefties. So yeah, he actually is more of a platoon. For his career, he hasn't been that good. I know it wasn't as bad in some recent years against righties, but yeah, I'm sorry, lefties. But he is kind of more of a platoon, albeit the better part of the platoon, but platoon at this point.
Brody brings up a good point too. Like Joc Pederson in his entire career he doesn't go on the East Coast. Like he's a West Coast guy. Like Dodgers, San Francisco, Arizona. He had 1 year where he split, Cubs and Braves, but I feel like, yeah, there might be something there where anything east of the mountain time zone is just off limits for him. He likes those 9 a.m. Sunday football games.
So is Jack Sawinski.
Yeah, I think I love Joc Pederson's bat. I just don't like the fit on this team right now. I think you could get away with it, like plugging him in the field. Someone mentioned, if you play him 80 games in right field, DH him the other 40, you could do that. But then you got to find someone else to play right field another 80 games.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned if Brian Reynolds is not going to move the first base, then maybe Joc Pederson being a fill-in there every now and then might fit better.
But Pederson hasn't played first base since 2019, really. And
yeah.
when he did that,
and Brian Reynolds has never played it.
And when Pederson did that in 2019, he was terrible.
Yeah, well, they're all terrible at first base.
149 innings, he had -6 defensive runs saved. I don't even know how that's possible. That's like -6 runs in 15 games.
Yeah, I got him. I'll go coach him. Just hit a baseball, man. I'm sorry. That's all I'm getting back to. Just hit a baseball. I just want to see this team hit baseballs.
I would love the bat. I just don't see where he fits on this team.
No, I do.
Well, then,
because you guys are gonna hate the last pick I have.
I want to say let's go to this next guy and I'll kick this one off. This one makes a lot of sense to me, and honestly, I kind of poo-pooed on it a few weeks back, but the more and more I do look into this, it's making a lot more sense to me. And to me, this is the play. This is the play. This kind of screams Pirates. And it's Michael Conforto. He's their 32nd ranked free agent, 2-year, $18 million deal. So now we're getting under 10 million. We're at a $9 million price point, right? For Michael Conforto. And when you look at Michael Conforto, it wasn't sexy last year. Like it was like a 1.5 WAR season. It was above average hitting wise. He hit like 20 home runs. I mean, it's solid, but it wasn't Tyler O'Neill like. It wasn't Joc Pederson like. We were talking like 30 home run pop and really, really good bat. But when you look at Conforto, he plays defense. Like there's, we talk about warts and such, right? Pederson doesn't really play good defense. He's been healthy recently. He wasn't healthy before, and that's why he was, not playing a whole lot of games, sign cheap, but 125, 130 last year. So relatively speaking, he's on the field for the most part. It's not like he's out for entire months, or out for the whole year. And yeah, like a 112 weighted runs created plus, 20 home runs. But there was a point there. He did have a hamstring injury. When he came back, he was awful. Like point blank, he was awful. I think like a 45 weighted runs created plus 1 month, like a 70. But then he got hot and he finished the year really strong. So like he started the year pretty good, got injured, maybe took some time to get back from the hamstring and get healthy again. And he finished strong. And like his expected numbers were actually better than his actual numbers were. To me, it seems like there's a lot of positives here. Less risk. This is safer. It's cheaper, but there's also upside with Conforto, I feel. I'm actually the one I am all in for is Conforto, I feel.
I love Conforto on next year's team. And really all the reasons why you just mentioned. He can play defense. The upside is there. Like he's shown throughout his career, he can put up really good seasons, and his floor is high. Like the worst seasons he's ever put up have still been like average offensive seasons. So you're looking at a guy who has a really high floor, got a high ceiling as well. he's consistently. I mean, he's basically Brian Reynolds. His career numbers are Brian Reynolds. I feel like he's a pretty underrated guy just because of that injury. That I mean, he I guess he's skipping all of 2022. I think just kind of put him back a peg in kind of the hierarchy of outfielders, but he still got it. Like he's still got it, and I think he's a great fit. If we're lining up like our two targets and we go into this offseason, we say, okay, Brian Reynolds, you're our new first baseman. Tyler O'Neill, you're our new left fielder. Michael Conforto, you're our new right fielder. Or if you want to switch those two, that's fine. Honestly, that's a successful offseason in my book. That's filling two holes that were huge holes with real major leaguers with upside. I'm all in on Conforto.
No, I agree. If we're looking at the grand scheme of things, I think that Conforto is probably the best fit that they could have. And I think this is something the Pirates haven't done very well at, is attacking those guys that maybe we get to February and March. Like a Michael Conforto, I think might end up being in that situation. They don't have a contract. There are guys out there that you can go get for cheaper deals. And I do think that Michael Conforto is one of those guys. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like he's always been a Pirate type of guy. I feel like I've been hearing about Michael Conforto to the Pirates for like 10 years.
When he was a free agent last time, I thought he was a perfect fit then. Like that 2022 to 2023 offseason.
He does.
He
just fits.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm all in, and I think the money definitely fits a good bit. So yeah, he's a guy that I think we talked about Pederson, we talked about O'Neill, but that's the guy I think fits the best. And I'm really sad that we let Donato take that.
But honestly, like I do, it's safer, it's cheaper. Like again, like I feel of all the players, Tyler O'Neill has the lowest floor.
Yeah,
he could just literally be out the whole year and give you nothing, And Joc Pederson all comes onto the bat, obviously. But if he's going to be in Pittsburgh, he's going to have to play defense, and that's going to bring him down, his value. Conforto can play defense. The bat, like the ceiling, maybe isn't as good as Pederson or O'Neill, obviously, but he's right there. You almost know what you're going to get out of him, and it's certainly more productive than anything they had in right field this year. And I feel like if you're keeping Brian Reynolds in the outfield, like what if they only signed one outfielder? Okay, we'll get there. Like you put Reynolds in right field, that makes Reynolds a better player. You have Conforto on left. You know what I mean? Like now you have Conforto, O'Neill Cruz, and Brian Reynolds. You know what? That's not that terrible of an outfield. Not that we talk about with Reynolds, O'Neill, and Pederson. So, and again, what I'm getting to, if you're much into expected numbers and such like that, like his expected WOBA was actually the same as Tyler O'Neill's last year, where O'Neill kind of overperformed, Conforto kind of underperformed. And so again, like that's kind of where I'm at. Conforto, I feel like being a 110 weighted runs created plus hitter, 10% above average with solid enough defense, it's about what you can expect from him. And I feel like you can safely expect that. And that alone is like 3 WAR gained in the outfield from what they had last year for $9 million.
I've got a hypothetical for you because this is a name that isn't on this top 50 list. Let's say Tyler O'Neill doesn't happen. All right. Tyler O'Neill doesn't happen. He signed somewhere else for a lot more money than we're thinking. I would almost be okay with like a constellation if we go Conforto for left, Kepler in right, and then you're looking at right field, and you can make a Kepler Cook platoon out there in right. I would be happy with that. You look at Max Kepler career numbers: 111 weighted runs created plus versus righties, 78 versus lefties. So like the platoon fits him. Conforto does have like the ability to hit both righties and lefties, so you could kind of have him going out there every day if you need him to. I feel like like I said, if O'Neill doesn't happen because of the money, a Kepler Conforto combo and throwing in Cook against lefties works. I think that works. The upside maybe isn't there that you get with it, like O'Neill Conforto, but you got a pretty high floor. Those guys are going to hit. They're professional hitters. And it's a major upgrade from what you have right now. And there is still a lot of, like, Conforto still offers quite a bit of upside.
Yeah.
So where I would push back a little bit, I'm not ready to pencil in Billy Cook for anything. Literally anything.
Fair.
Maybe I would listen if we're gonna maybe move Brian Reynolds to first, like we've been talking about. And possibly on those types of days, we put Brian Reynolds in right field and then find a cheaper option at first base to hit lefties. I don't know if, like, money-wise, a corner outfielder, it's going to be cheap for a platoon type of guy. You can find a Connor Joe in the dollar store aisle. Doesn't really matter, but maybe you give Brian Reynolds some time in right field or whatever you have to do. But I just don't know about Billy Cook right now, penciling him for a platoon type of deal.
I'll say this with Cook, like, he mashes lefties. He showed the short amount of time he was up here, he crushed lefties. He also played great defense.
Really good defense.
Can I give?
We
go
can
ahead and give my really bad opinion. You guys are gonna hate off the bat.
Go ahead.
Everybody is going to hate this so much. Kevin Newman.
Don't hate it.
I think Kevin Newman's a good fit. IKF isn't the shortstop. Okay.
Well,
what does Kevin Newman offer you that Jared Triolo doesn't?
I think it's a good point, but also he's going to be cheap. IKF. I don't fully know the contract situation, but I know Kevin Newman can play shortstop. I don't think IKF can. I think that Kevin Newman hits much better than Jared Triolo. Doesn't field as well. But Kevin Newman can play the corners. I think he can, at least.
by the way, $6.3 million for IKF this upcoming year.
Kevin Newman's I don't know what he's going to cost, but I would assume 3-4.
What's he going to be? What are you bringing him in to be?
A backup, everything. What IKF should be. And we're still talking about. I know we have in our brains, like, Kevin Newman's bad. But when you look at IKF and Kevin Newman's numbers, they're not far apart. Like, Kevin Newman's coming off a $1.5 million or 1.5 WAR season.
Hold up.
And he hits lefties.
Ethan says no at 7.5. Aren't they kicking in money this year? Or is that
That's
all
where
year?
I get confused. I don't know exactly.
The money that the Blue Jays kicked in all went towards last season's salary.
Okay, then my bad. Then it's 7.5. So it's the full thing.
So
thank you for reading the comments, Ethan. I thought part of that was also this year.
Yeah. So if you can get Kevin Newman for $3 to $4 million, and I don't know if that's the case, I'm just assuming. I don't imagine he's going to be much more than that. He's literally IKF.
Well, go ahead, Jim.
I said you're going to hate it.
I do hate it because here's what I've seen Kevin Newman put up completely abysmal seasons. I don't need to see him again. Now, if Jared Triolo didn't exist and IKF didn't exist, sure, like, I'm cool with that. But, like, no, Jared Triolo can do everything Kevin Newman can right now. And I think Jared Triolo's career weighted runs created plus is higher than Kevin Newman's.
Is it?
Yes.
Because he
cheaper,
hit a
and
bunch
he's
of ground balls.
controllable.
I'll say this. I feel safer
defense.
with Kevin Newman. With the
Jared Triolo's never put up back-to-back 50 weighted runs created plus seasons. Kevin Newman, 2020, 53 weighted runs created plus.
That was the COVID
2021, 52 weighted runs created
We're
plus.
going back 3 years.
I'm talking about but he's a career 78 weighted runs created plus. The dude can't hit. All right. Last year he hit pretty well. 89 weighted runs created plus. Still well below average. It was the best year he's had since 2019. I don't expect 31-year-old Kevin Newman to go out there and do that again. I just don't. So, yeah, I'm not. I'm just gonna ask again. I don't think there's anything Kevin Newman can do that Jared Triolo can't do.
And I get that, but also, if you look at the numbers that Kevin Newman puts up, and you compare him to an IKF, IKF's getting overpaid here. I don't need him getting 7.5.
Let me just clear this up again. I don't hate it. But I don't think it's a good use of allocating the funds. But so again, if they sign him, I'm not gonna say, "Oh my God, why you signed this is terrible." I still need to see the rest. I guess I look at it this way: it's a luxury that they don't need to be utilizing right now.
I know.
I'm rolling with Triolo, and my master plan I'll talk later because I do have a master plan here also.
Dude, if I'm rolling Triolo, I am trading Cabrian Hayes, and we're getting way too far down.
Well, you're not getting anything for Cabrian Hayes. You're getting nothing for him. But
I'm just saying, if we're talking money,
if we're talking about Triolo and utilizing Triolo more, the play is trading Isaiah Kiner-Falefa after we talk about another guy that we'll talk about surely here later on.
Let's bring it up now.
If you can sign Ha-Seong Kim, then you trade IKF. There's probably not a huge delta there from a salary standpoint. You're probably adding a few $1 million salary by doing that. But then that's my play if you're wanting to move on from IKF, not signing Kevin Newman.
That's fine. I'm just saying, if I'm looking at Kevin Newman and IKF, they're almost the same person. One's just cheaper. And one can play shortstop and one can't.
I look at this the other thing because, again, I look at your trading IKF to get a Ha-Seong Kim, right? And then it's who's the backup? I feel safer with a Kevin Newman as a backup, but I'm okay for the super utility backup player to be Jared Triolo. That's what I'm saying. Why spend the money for the Kevin Newman? Just roll with the Jared Triolo. That's where I'm at in this. And part of it too, this is also going to go another thing I was going to talk about. We're Jim's talking about the Cook platoon. This team has a lot of holes. They have a finite amount of money they're going to spend. You're not going to fix everything. There's some things you're going to have to roll the dice with. This is all about how much can you bring up to par, right? How much risk adversity can you bring to this team? You're not going to be able to fix everything. So if the master plan is to maybe get all the 8 positions kind of fixed, and then the right fields you're rolling with a Kepler, Cook, I would be okay with that as long as the other 8, are addressed and up to par. It's not like we'll sign Conforto and Kepler and now we're calling it a day. Now I got a problem. But if right field is the one you're kind of rolling the dice with on that because you've shored up other positions, I'd be cool with that. And that's where I go with the IKF thing. If you're trading IKF to shortstop with a Kim, I'm okay with rolling the dice on Triolo being that super utility guy now. Because that's how you're going to use those resources and funds to get the sure thing at short, opposed to having IKF there and made a Kevin Newman also or something like that. That makes sense.
I hate the fact that I had to bring up Kevin Newman, but he seems like a pirate acquisition.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah, I wouldn't like it either, but
but
I'm gonna
I
be
understand
mad.
your thought process on it. Like I'm not poo-pooing the thought process, because if you take Kevin Newman and you take Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and you put them right next to each other and you say which one's better, I probably lean IKF slightly, but it's not that big of a delta, if I'm being honest with you. Like, I mean, I think what separates the two, I think IKF's floor is a little bit higher than Newman's. Like, I don't think Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is capable of going an entire season with like a 50 weighted runs created plus, whereas Newman has shown multiple times he can do that. But from like a pure 50th percentile projection, they're probably not that far off from each other. So I understand your thought process there. I'm not exactly thrilled with it. I would rather, if you're going to move on from IKF, which I'm fine with that, and I would prefer it because I think that's a position you can upgrade for not a whole lot more money. I think that you go with Kim. So like, I think if we're looking like how much money do we have to spend, and we talked about Tyler O'Neill taking up a big chunk of it. If O'Neill doesn't happen, that frees up some money for you. And if you can go Conforto, Kepler, Kim, that's, I mean, hell yeah. Sign me up.
Right.
No, I agree. And also, I just want to mention the comment that Nardo has on the screen right now, that IKF is a better clubhouse guy too. I get that, but also at the same time, like, as soon as he arrived, they lost a bunch of baseball games. So,
Fair.
like, I understand the thought process, and I do think he's a good guy to have in the clubhouse. But that only goes so far. Like, they lost a lot of baseball games basically as soon as these guys arrived. So, I can't really buy into them being like some anchor that we're gonna like. We need these veterans. You know what? Like, he kind of sucked when he got here.
Well, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa showed up, and I think the Pirates proceeded to lose like 11 of 12.
Yeah. So, like, I remember hearing that about
same with
like
Brian
Casey
De La Cruz.
McGee
And like, it wasn't his fault. Like, I'm not gonna say it was.
No, it's
it wasn't
not.
his fault. I mean, but yeah.
But I don't know if I can get with the thought process of they're good clubhouse guys when they just continue to lose as soon as they arrive. No, it's a bigger problem than just that.
But so let's talk about Kim. Because again, it's certainly one we've talked about. They don't have him. Like, no one predicted Kim going to the Pirates, but he's one that they, like, look out for the Pirates under his name. Now, I think the funny thing with Kim, his variance of this contract goes all over the place, depending on who you talk to, what it's going to be, how many years. He is coming off an injury. He's not going to start the year healthy. Now, what I do want to say, and of course, this also comes from an agent, but where was that? Yeah, here it is. He's not going to be out more than half the season. The way it's been stated is he'll be hitting, he'll be able to play baseball in April, and then make his way up to the majors. This looks like he'll probably be out for a month type of thing. This isn't like a more than a half a year type situation where, like, why invest in him? Now, it's still a risk. I mean, we know setbacks can happen. Doesn't look like he'll start the year, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be too far off when the season begins that he'll be healthy enough to play. So also, like, maybe that's part reason why a 1-year deal makes sense for him. And if it is a 1-year deal, $12 million, by the way, they have linked here, that if you're trading away $7.5 million for IKF to get $12 million for Kim, to me, that's a no-brainer. You make that deal. You make that deal. You do it. Because this guy stabilizes shortstop, really good defensively there, and then again, you have Triolo roaming around. He's a Gold Glove utility guy. He can do what he should be doing. Puts him in a better role. He knows his role. Maybe goes out to perform it better. And again, like, now I'm talking about defensively, Hayes at third. You got Kim at short. You have Nikki G at second, also really good defensively last year. This infield defense doesn't look really, really good now. So, and if you do have Conforto out there, Cruz and Reynolds or Kepler, Cook. Like defensively, this team's starting to get sound again, where it's been pretty bad. So you are bringing in offense, and I know Kim doesn't blow the cover off the ball offensively, but he hits well enough, especially the shortstop position, and he plays a really good defensive shortstop. And now the entire team's starting to become sound defensively and getting better with the bat.
Yeah, I think you can get creative here with Kim and then dealing IKF, because I think this MLB trade rumors number is off. 3 years, 24 million doesn't seem right to me. I think he gets more like 12 to 14.
No, that's the wrong Kim. That's the KBO Kim.
That is the KBO.
He's got a 1 year, 12 million.
That part is everything that Jim said.
That's Ha-Seong Kim. What's going on here?
Jim, before you go any further, the only reason I knew how to correct you is because I did the same thing.
Okay. No, that makes more sense. That makes more sense then. So Ha-Seong Kim, MLB trade rumor, has 1 year, 12 million. I think the $12 million is about right, like 12 to 13 to $14 million a year. I think he'll get more than 1 year, though. I think we're looking at more like a 3 or a 4 year deal. So that's going to be the main difference. And yeah, so if you're thinking IKF's making 7.5, if you can sign Kim for, let's just call it 14, then that's a $6.5 million delta. So you're adding $6.5 million to basically swap IKF and Kim. Let's just assume Conforto is going to cost you 10. That's 16.5 mil. And then you can sign Kepler for 5 or whatever. It's $21.5 million that you just added to your payroll, but you just got Conforto, Kim, and Kepler.
We're just assuming they signed all of them, right?
Just do it. Just do it all. Get it done. Get it done, Ben. No, I mean,
what I think Jim's trying to point out is you can kind of get legit players.
Yeah,
you can do that
with this payroll.
You can afford that.
No, I don't disagree. And you have to get creative with it. And I think Kim's an instance where you can get creative. And I think 1 year, 12 million is kind of silly. He's not getting a 1 year deal. He's still 29 years old. But can you go like 3 for 36, 3 for 38, 3 for 40? You can probably do that. Move money around. I think the Pirates could do that. It's another instance where this is one of those opportunities that they could probably really jump on that I don't think we've seen them do in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I guess I look at it this way. I guess it really comes down to like what he wants to do. Coming off the injury, there might be people scared off. So does he take a 1 year deal to reestablish, to go into free agency at 30 and get the big contract, right? Or does he try to secure what he can right now? Regardless, though, I think the 12 million is still about sound, whether it's a long-term deal or a short-term deal. It's going to be about 12 to 15 million-ish. So that's where we're at. And again, either way, I look at this and say, this just makes total sense. This makes total sense. Putting IKF full-time at shortstop puts him at his absolute worst. You're not getting the most value out of him. You're turning him into not that productive player. Trade him to someone who can utilize him the way he needs to be. Let him be that super utility guy for whatever team. Now you've opened up $7.5 million. You've opened up that shortstop position. You fill it with someone like Kim, and you're good. You feel very comfortable. And then you can roll with Triolo, even if he isn't, hitting offensively as you hope for one day. He's got a good glove. He can play all over the place, and he's not a full-time. He's not getting 400 to 500 at bats like he did last year, so like you feel a lot better with that. And now you're okay to roll the dice with him also because you got a better infield. So I'm all for Kim for all those reasons. But to me, the biggest thing is IKF. He gets traded this offseason. Like he has to. You have to trade him to make what you have to do to better the Pirates this year.
So that was going to be my question there. Are we all like on the same boat where it feels like IKF has to be dealt?
Has to.
I don't think he has to be. Like, okay. I would prefer to upgrade that shortstop position, but I think I could live with him there if you address the other stuff. Like I think he's capable of playing the position and doing it in a way that's not going to cost this team that heavily. But I would much prefer they upgrade that position. But again, I think it depends for me on, as long as if everything else gets addressed, then I think they can roll with it. But
But do you think they
kind
could
of
address
picking-
everything
that's
without trading him?
Yeah, that's the thing. So I don't know. It sucks that there's not really an internal option, I think, that you can plug there, because it would be great if Leo Piguero showed you he could hit in AAA and you could feel a little comfortable with him, but you can't. Like you can't hand Leo Piguero the keys to anything right now. Nick Gonzalez, if he could play shortstop very well, I think his bat plays there probably even better than it does at second base. And like that would make sense. But again, I don't think he's that good defensively there. Just not as bad. Then you're running into the same position you're with IKF, is you're not putting him in his best spot. You're kind of overextending him. And the Pirates, we've seen them do that over and over and over again. And that's when they run into problems, is they're playing people where they shouldn't be playing and things go wrong. So they need a shortstop. I think IKF can do it. I would prefer somebody else though.
Yeah. And I don't want to, we're not going to hash out the Pirates payroll issues, but I do think people will hate it. But if you trade Hayes and IKF, that frees up a lot more flexibility to improve next year's team. Because those two, as good as they are as baseball players and as valuable as they are, neither of them are good fits for the next good Pirates baseball team.
I still look at it this way. Hayes is on the team. You're not trading him.
I don't think so either, but I would, because I think that Jared Triolo does exactly what Brian Hayes does for a lot cheaper.
But I no one's trading for Brian Hayes right now. I don't.
But at the same time, like in the Pirates position, I just kind of want to dump that contract.
It's not.
It's not bad now.
It's not bad.
It was so front.
He's making $7 million. Like
you say that,
$7 million.
It's going to be Josh Bell all over again. You're
$7
trading him
million's
the lowest
a lot for
value. And
they did the same thing with Liriano. Like they had to add prospects to the Liriano deal. Like that's the only way they're getting rid of him right now. And like there's just no point.
Well, that was just silly.
I'd rather just hope for a bounce back.
I would too, kind of, but if you get to a point like we're getting close to Triolo just being as valuable. Also, I don't know if we're going to get to the relievers here, but I'm not dumping any money into relievers. Figure it out.
Well, let's go.
I think
they
go
have David Robertson.
Yeah.
They have David Robertson linked to the Pirates. They gave him actually, was it 11? Oh, I'm trying to pull it up. Was it 11?
1 year, 11 million is what they say with Robertson.
That seems kind of high to me. I'll say that. But regardless, they have him linked. I'm not doing this if I'm the Pirates. Like, I'm not spending 11 million on David Robertson. I'll put it that way. I don't see this happening one bit.
Robertson was really good last year. And he was really good the year before. And he was really good the year before. He's really good. Now, I think if I'm throwing money at a reliever, though, it's a lefty. It's got to be a lefty. You don't have any. Like, you have no lefties in the bullpen right now. And unless you're kind of assuming that Bailey Falter eventually slots into your bullpen, outside that, you've got Joey Wentz on your roster. And that's it. Like, that's
Dowry will be coming back, but probably midsummer.
He's also a righty.
But...
Like, so like you've got one lefty, and it's Joey Wentz. So if you're going to add to this bullpen, you gotta get a lefty.
You do. I'm just not dumping any money into relievers. This is where Ben Sherrington has to make his money. And I think he's kind of shown that he can do it. Like Ryan Barucki put together almost a David Robinson type of year. Robertson, good Lord. But that's where GMs have to make their money. You don't need to spend $10.5 million on a reliever. Like Aroldis Chapman, I understand why they brought him in. He was valuable to this team, but again, they weren't good. Is that $10.5 million more valuable being spent elsewhere? Probably. I don't need any more money dumped into this bullpen.
I guess where I differ is they need to address the bullpen also. We already worried about allocating funds. We've talked about this offense and how we've dumped some money into it. So, like, I guess the $11 million for like a Robertson just seems too much of a luxury for me. I just don't see it happening. You know, and I think like last year, yeah, Chapman happened, but I think Chapman also happened because they kept missing out on starters. They kept going after starters, and everyone said, no, we don't want to come. See you later. And they said, well, let's strengthen up the bullpen. They paid Chapman. That I don't think it's going to be a situation this year. I don't think they're going to like get desperate, right, or pivot in that sense. But I do think they're going to address the bullpen. And I guess where I'm at with this is, and Jim, I know we kind of talked about this on PlayStation one night. I love this guy. I've liked him for a long time. He was injured. He came back. Blake Trinan. To me, that's a pirate. To me, that's a pirate. And you know why it's a pirate? Because he's going to be cheaper than I think than Robertson. He's also good. He's younger. Like
He's very good.
And again, he's 40 years old. I mean, he still looks productive, and it's not like you can't pitch after 40. But, you know, Robertson's a little bit older. Trinan's, he came back, and he looked good. He has some closing experience, but he hasn't been a closer. It's like you're bringing in Chapman, and now it's like, well, Bednar, you're kind of iffy. So now, you know what? We got this really good closer. You're not putting him in an awkward position like Chapman could have potentially done it before, but you also have a safety net with Trinan here if David Bednar can come back or not. And again, if he's back, then great. You have Blake Trinan now in this bullpen, who's really, really good, who I think is going to come a lot cheaper. The market value is there. He's outside their top 50. Look at Spotrac. I don't get this. They put him as market value at like $2.9 million, I think. Though they had Robertson at $7.8 million. I look, you know what? $6 million. If it's going to cost about $6 million to get him, it's deep, but that's some insurance in this bullpen for sure now. And if Bednar can come back, he's not Aroldis Chapman, but he kind of is. And, you know, like if he's performing, the bullpen come back the way they're performing, like you have still that elite type bullpen potential there. And that's the one guy you plug in, the one guy you get assurance. But then to your point, Tyler, yes, he still has to make his mark. He has to find some crafty moves to still get this bullpen. There's Santana there still. You know, like that was one move he did already that's on this team. Like if he can find some other crafty moves, but he invests a little bit in like Trinan, who's not a whole lot of money, but, you know, for Pirates related, it's kind of some money, $6 million something. But that's some really good insurance for me.
That's still a good chunk, though.
Okay.
I think you're underestimating how much Trinan's going to go for also. Like I have a feeling he could, especially after this postseason he just put up, dude's going to get paid. And if we're talking about money, like I think you're talking at least like $8 million. And again, if I'm throwing money at the bullpen right now, I need a left-handed pitcher. I'm gonna say Daniel here in the comments. Danny Coulombe makes a whole lot of sense. Caleb Ferguson makes a whole lot of sense. Give me one of those two to like kind of make sure that the left side I've got like I need a good lefty reliever. So give me one of those two, and I think you can get either of those two for like a $4 to $6 million range, and that's something that works. If you've got money left over, sure, go out there and get somebody. But I think you're underestimating how much Trinan's going to get.
Okay,
I mean,
that could be fair.
He was extremely good last year, and the postseason only raises his price tag.
I also think like maybe I'm just stuck in the Neil Huntington era where he just found relievers off the scrap heap. But I'm sorry. I feel like if you're a GM, that's where the money's made. Go get a bullpen built with nobodies and turn them into somebody. Because, again, I might be stuck in Neil Huntington era, but you find those guys. That's where you make your money. Because obviously he's not doing it with the hitters. He's found a way to do it with starting pitching, but the next step, I think, is you got to find some relievers. And he's done it with Denny Santana. He's done it with Baraki, Moretta. Go do that again.
I'll say this with Huntington, though. When he was picking up relievers, he was trading for them. Like he was giving up assets for them, or he was developing them in some cases, like a Tony Watson. So but Mark Melancon was traded for.
He was.
Joel Hanrahan was traded for. So like those guys were traded for. Justin Wilson, Tony Watson, those were developed. Right now, I'm cool with trading for relievers. I mean, that's how we got Moretta, right? So I mean, like the trades are out there to get those types of guys.
Maybe IKF.
But my number one priority with the bullpen is to get a lefty. And I think Coulombe or Ferguson fits that mold very well. And then I'm kind of going out from there. I think you've got a pretty strong. You probably need to do something else because the guys that were in your bullpen last year didn't cut it, and that was the main problem. So it is something that needs to be addressed. But first and foremost, I need a lefty. Like I'm not rolling with Joey Wentz.
Yeah, that again, like that's fair. I want a reliever for insurance. And to me, again, that was you still want lefties. So maybe the lefty is something you still find somewhere else. That's where I was going with this. But I guess, like with that said, is there anything else that any other players that you wanted to talk about? Any other concepts?
No, you all poo-pooed my Kevin Newman deal.
Well,
I think the biggest thing
I didn't poo-poo
is,
I said I would.
Y'all poo-pooed it.
I see the vision.
I think if you're looking to add something as well, and you're not looking to kind of stretch that budget, a trade is also always in the works here. And I think you're going to have to make one like impactful trade this offseason, because we just talked about signing Kim, signing Conforto, signing Kepler. Like, let's be real. The Pirates aren't going out there and signing 3 major league starting position players. Like, it's not their forte. It's not their MO. They've never done it before. I don't see them starting now. If we were in charge, that's what we would do, but we're not in charge. So I think there's going to have to be a trade made to address one of those holes, because odds of plugging them with all free agents is low.
So I agree with both statements. They have to make a trade because I think it's the most logical way for them to infuse this team with talent. They don't have the abundance of cash to do so. They have some cash, and we've addressed some ways they can utilize cash to do it. But I think the most logical way is to deal that surplus of pitching to get something else that is cheaper. So you're not spending $12 million in that position. You're spending trade capital and $700,000 this year on it, right? And that allows that flexibility for other ways and such too. Now, what direction they go to do that with, we don't know yet, but I do think that a trade makes a lot of sense. I'm not going to say like it's going to happen, but I feel confident that it's probably going to happen. They just have so much pitching capital that they need offense that it just makes so much sense to do something to acquire talent in that way. But I guess what I want to say here and kind of bring up, and shout out of course to Ethan using his spreadsheets here for his payroll. He does have the Pirates right now at $80.5 million projected payroll next year after arbitration. And we already talked about the arbitration and who he might tender contract to and not. I think we feel pretty safe that you're not tendering it to Brian De La Cruz, $4 million, Connor Joe, $3.2 million, and like Ben Heller at $1 million, right? And if you're going this route of trading IKF, it is $7.5 million. When you take those contracts out, you're at $64.8 million. All right. When you add Cutchin, basically about $70 million, right, in contracts as a payroll. If we're talking about Conforto, that puts you at $79 million, right? If you're talking about Kim, about $12 million, right? That puts you at 91. Conforto and Kim still at $91 million. I think this team, what they really should do is get those two players. I think they need to also bring back Carlos Santana. My thing is put Santana at first base, right? If it's going to cost you $6 million this year, that you're sitting at about $97 million. You think it's going to be more? You don't think it's a 2-year, $12 million deal?
I mean, he might sign a 2-year deal. But I mean, he made 5.25 last year, and he had a really good season. So I mean, I could see him wanting like the 8 that the Pirates gave him in 2023.
Okay.
But I mean, it's going to be less than 10, right?
So even if the 8, that's 99. We're still under $100 million now. Of course, there's going to be other moves, right? It's going to be a little, but again, like we have felt you need to invest. $100 million shouldn't be something astronomical. But if you're bringing in Conforto, that puts Reynolds to right. So you're making Reynolds better now being in right field. Left field's better. Outfield looks sound, right? Carlos Santana at first base, Gold Glove winner, Carlos Santana at first base. We just talked about with the offense, with defense in the infield. You have Hayes, Kim, Nikki G, Carlos Santana. Like that defense in the infield now also looks pretty good. That's really like, I want this team to go that direction. You trade IKF, you bring in Kim, bring in Conforto, also bring in Carlos Santana. That lineup looks pretty solid, looks pretty deep. Defensively, now your team looks pretty good. You're still under $100 million. And again, to your point about the trade, you make a trade, you gain something else there as well. You're looking good. I mean, we did this under $100 million.
Jim, you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, if in that scenario you're keeping Reynolds in the outfield, you're shifting him to right field, which is a little bit better of a spot than he's in now. I could go. That's just a whole other scenario I could go for. Like if you're not moving Reynolds to first, then you do need to address first base, and Santana makes a whole lot of sense there. A whole lot of sense.
It does.
This is also why I like Conforto.
And I think Conforto makes sense too. But I think it makes more sense to just move Brian Reynolds to first base, trade IKF, and go get a different corner outfielder.
So
Like,
that is
do
where
I really need another Carlos Santana in my life again? Like, he was fine here, but he wasn't good enough. Like, we can talk about him left and right, but he was an average hitter.
Yeah,
still a 2-WAR player.
Yeah, he was 1.5 WAR in 2023.
Yeah, but like hitting wise, he was fine.
He was average. He was average.
I need guys that hit baseballs.
So I guess what I'm coming at
in my opinion, I think that moving Brian Reynolds to first base, where you get a first baseman that can still hit baseballs, and it makes it more possible to go get corner outfielders who can hit baseballs. I want guys that hit freaking baseballs.
I think we all do.
So this is where I was going. If you don't want to get Santana, and you want to put B-Ray at first, like this is where I'm also okay with then having like the Kepler, Billy Cook right field.
It's all gross.
You're probably going to have a hole somewhere.
Yeah.
But now Brian Reynolds is at first base. He's still going to be somewhat of a liability in right field. Kepler and Cook won't be, right? But they'll have the liability to bat. That platoon compared to Carlos Santana likely will be lesser, but you're saving some more money. Again, to me, Carlos Santana makes a ton of sense on this team. And he wanted to be here before. I'm sure he still does. Maybe there's a way you can say in doing so, and maybe he'll give you like some type of a discount. I don't know. But like he wanted to be here, make it happen. And I like the idea of B-Ray at first also. It's just to me, like Carlos Santana being here just makes a ton of sense also. So put B-Ray to right field. Conforto's in left. It's a very sound offensive team.
I wouldn't complain with it. I also like Santana's going to be 39 next year. So it's like, how long can he keep this up?
David Robertson's going to be 40.
Yeah, relievers are different, though. They're not.
I know. They're the quarterbacks of the MLB.
Yeah.
Well, I think you know what, Donato? I think we got to the point where Jim wants to trade IKF. Because all of this just has to do with an IKF trade.
It does. I'm all for that.
We've all said that.
The Pirates.
Yeah, but Jim was kind of hesitant on it.
Oh,
no,
right.
I was not.
No,
I specifically said I would much rather trade IKF and upgrade him with Kim. That's what I said.
No, you said.
But I said if they're able to address everything else, I can live with IKF at short.
Honestly, I think they could just replace him with me, and I throw with my left hand.
Okay.
I think we're ready to go.
That seals it. All right. Well, that was fun. And again, I do want to super address here because like this comment, trade for like Josh Naylor. Like I would welcome a Josh Naylor trade as well. We don't know what trade's going to happen. This is all just free agency talk. I do think a trade's going to happen. And if like you're making a trade for Josh Naylor, then that's fine. You don't get Carlos Santana. And that frees up, the money. And you can do all those other things. Trade's going to happen. This is a free agency show. We're talking about spots free agency. That's how we addressed it. But a trade is absolutely going to happen, I think, at some point. And I would also welcome a Josh Naylor. But with that said, let's get out of here. Any last words for either of you? Tyler?
Trade them all.
Trade them all. Like they're like the opposite of Pokemon.
Let's just sign Juan Soto.
Yeah, why not?
You got to trade IKF though. you got to recoup some of that $600 million deal. All right. Well, then let's get out of here. So before we go, everyone, go in the description of the show. See below here. Subscribe to our Patreon if you want. We appreciate it. Got some really cool perks in there. You already did our first giveaway on our new reintroduced Patreon. This Friday, we'll be back with another Sicko Sound Off. Jim, are you hosting it? Have we determined yet for sure?
I think so.
Okay. So Jim will host it again this Friday. If you want to be on the Sicko Sound Off, get in our Discord. That link is also in the description. That's where we funnel it. So we have the raffle going off right now. So the 3 winners will be selected to be on this Friday. And I guess kind of announce it right now too. Next Tuesday, right? That is the 12th, next Tuesday.
Yes.
Thank you. I thought so. We'll make sure. NS9 Jeopardy returns, hosted by Ryan. So also we'll be funneling the selection on Discord. So get in our Discord. If you're not, first off, it's the way to get on Sicko Sound Off. It's the way to get on NS9 Jeopardy. It's an awesome community. And for all you people leaving Twitter, aka X right now, get in our Discord. Again, great community. A lot of Pirates fans, a lot of baseball fans. Have all kinds of different channels to talk about different things. So do so. And so we'll see you guys Friday. Get in our Discord. And I guess that's everything, right, guys?
Yep.
Sounds about right.
Then let's get out of here. Appreciate y'all. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Sorry, guys.
All right, that wraps up this episode of North Shore 9. Thanks so much for tuning in, whether you're listening on the podcast or catching us on YouTube. If you enjoyed the show, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us grow. And if you're listening on the podcast, a quick review goes a long way in helping others find the show. Plus, be sure to tell a friend about us. There's always room for more here in the NS9 community. And for those looking to support us a little more, consider joining our Patreon, become an MVP member, and get exclusive perks while helping us continue to bring you more of the Pirates content you love. Thanks again for all your support, and let's go Bucks.